This is Mikoy, and welcome to the final episode of the Tourist Plaza Classic 3 podcast. Last time we covered the top 8, well, no, not top 8. We've covered the quarterfinals, and we gave out our semifinal predictions. This time, we're going to cover the semifinal and finals matches. That's why this video came out late, so I apologize, but we do have a new TPC champion. I wanted to wait until the finals was done in order to get this video out. So let's take a look at our final four, shall we? We have 7U992, Saba, Euphanos, and Mossy Sandwich. Definitely four of the I wouldn't call them the heavy favorites, but they're definitely out of the remaining four. These are some of the best builders in the Tours Plaza scene. Definitely some of the best, most creative people we've seen. So I'm happy to see that, even though I wanted guys like Kither and Stariel to win, I'm happy that we've got some renowned Plaza folk that eventually made it into this position, and congrats to them for making this far. However, now let's move on to the chosen tiers. So we have here for the chosen tiers for the semifinals, we had Gen 7 RUBL with bonus type rules, so you added an extra type to the original mon. Invest Stabmons, even though it should be inverse Stabmon, so Frostpixel loses points in spelling. Pretty good tier, I'd say. Also, we've updated the rule set on this one to keep this tier from being unfair and unbalanced, make it a bit fair and balanced. And finally, Cap, which is one of my personal favorite metas, with item clause minus heavy duty boots. So pretty interesting tier there. So let's move on, shall we, to the matches and see what happened. First up, we had Sava versus 7U992 play. The first game was Gen 7 Ruble. It was a pretty interesting game, I'd say. Both players brought pretty bulky and fat teams to start off with. First, you had Saba with his slow bro and Stack Attack against 7U992's heavy bulky stall team of Bronzong, Florges, Mandibas, and then you got your sweeper Kyriam, and then Slowbro and Lax. So the game went pretty fine. Mega Slowbro having block was essential, allowing it to set up against Florges at one point, so that was pretty interesting. And I just love the Slowbro set that Saba had, which was Scald, Calm Mind, Block, and Rest. 7U992's Snorlax set was pretty interesting, not really the most optimal. You had Curse, Recycle, Crunch, and Facade. And I think Fire Punch was also there. Oh no, Fire Punch was there. But yeah, interesting, but I wouldn't call it the most original set, or at least one of the good sets. It definitely played a major factor in the end game, but we'll talk about that. Saba throwing out Stack Attacka against an attacking Kyurem wasn't the best choice, I'd say. Stack Attacka could definitely beat Florges and Kyurem if it had health to begin with, but the fact that Saba hard switched it wasn't really the best choice. But it proved to be his undoing in the end, especially with this end game that Snorlax ultimately getting a lucky burn from Saba's own Slowbro, scalding it, getting the burn, and then having Facade and Curse on there definitely played a factor, and 7U992 was able to take the win there. Game 2 they played was Inverse Stab. Saba brought Rain, which was pretty nice. You don't really get to see rain much. You don't get to see weather much in Stab, let alone rain. I think I would have personally picked Sun, but that's just me. A couple of questions here. Why did Zeraora hard switch? It wouldn't do much against pretty much everything else on Saba's team, but it was still weird. You could have had close combat this, something something play rough or something to take care of all these others. But yeah, it wasn't really the best choice. Maybe it was just a potential sack. I don't know, but yeah, it was a really weird switch there. Ultimately, Kingdra swept through the rest of the game with Water Spout and Dynamax Cannon. And having Pelipper out there with the Swift Swim, that's a dangerous combination. And that enabled Saba to win back in Inverse Stab. And finally, we had Cap. What's interesting is that Saba did not carry any Capmons. I mean, I don't as well. Like, I prefer Pokemon that I actually know other than Pokemon that are artificially created. But Saba brought, not bringing any particular, this is a blanket OU team against 7992, who brought a couple of Capmons. Definitely, like, Kartana and Commodore should have been utilized better, especially since those two Mons are particularly known for sweeping. Like, you got Commodore here having the Citrus Berry Unburdened set, and of course Kartana being Kartana. That should have easily taken out everything on Saba's team. But nothing else much to say. Saba had a more dominant approach for the rest of the game, having Lele out there and having Toxapex and Tornadus basically carry the end game. It was a very nice approach for Saba, and enabled him to get to the finals. Sorry, disappointing that 7992 went out this way, but he's had a great road leading up to this. People may think it's controversial. I just think it's a matter of skill issue. So yeah, that was one of the games decided. Who will Saba face in the finals? Surprise, surprise, Mossy beat Euphanos in a pretty close set. So let's take a look, shall we? So first up, we had Cap. They played Cap first, which is interesting because the last one was Cap in the last series, but now this one is in Cap in the first series. Both brought pretty good teams, I'd say. There was a lot of different variations of what teams they could use, and them bringing up a lot of Capmons really shows you that Capmons should be, should be treated better. Not necessarily like should be appreciated more, but treated better. So the first game, it was a very strong first turn. First of all, you had Oromoth against Astrolotl. It was a final gambit from Oromoth, which I assume this is choiced. That took out Astrolotl very quickly, and that already put Mossy at a big disadvantage on the first one. The rest of the game went absolutely standard. Although I will say Revenank, I think it's pronounced. This particular mon is an absolute sweeper through and through. As you can see here, Mossy had nothing against Revenank. It basically was outmatched because having lost this, which I guess would be the resist, but Poltergeist and Shadow Sneak, and having it, and this one particularly being not really that bulky, especially with Coil. Yeah, it was a big 50-50 ratio match from here on out, and Mossy wasn't able to really pull up any punches. Wasn't able to take the win in here. It was a pretty underwhelming win. Oh, well, no, not underwhelming win. Underwhelming loss for Mossy, because Revenank was able to sweep with Drain Punch and Poltergeist, taking out basically everything, and giving Euphanos the early lead in the first thing. So, how did Mossy bounce back? But Mossy has too, but I'm just saying, Euphanos has a much more wider range in terms of OMs. Although Mossy has the inverse, so that definitely helped him in this tier. They both brought pretty interesting teams. Mossy went for a much more hyper-offensive oriented team, whereas Euphanos went for just standard bulk, which was pretty interesting. If this loads perfectly, there we go. So yeah, Mossy brought basically hyper offense. You got Rhyperior, you got Zero Aura, you got Tangrowth, you got Tornadus, you got Victini, and you got Urshifu against Euphanos. Much more bulk standard, bog standard bulk. Definitely a lot of interesting moments happened in this matchup. It was a pretty even game from there on out. We got Rotom Mo, riskily staying in against the Volt switching Zera Aura. That was really risky. Like right here in this moment right here. Maybe he was expecting a burn on Zera Aura. I don't know. But yeah, that was a risky ass play and Volt Switch. That's already a warning sign for Euphanos. But credit to him, he played the rest of the game fine, especially with the Aerodactyl being I'm guessing this is choice banded because it was able to take out Tangrowth in one hit. Avalugg, Seismitoad. Seismitoad was definitely an MVP in this one. I like the idea of it. It is a Soak, Thousand Waves, Scald. It scalded and taked out the Rhyperior in one hit. It wasn't critical, yeah, but it was still a very surprising moment there. In the end, though, Mossy had a no retreat Urshifu, which definitely should be banned. I don't know why it isn't banned yet, but no retreat Urshifu, and dodging a potential burn from Volcarona enabled him to take game 2 by the horns. So very impressive there. Last but not least, game 3, Ruble. This one was this one was interesting. And I didn't think Euphanos would lose this game, but definitely caught a bit surprised, especially with the team Mossy brought, which was Espeon and a couple of sweepers. First up, we had Stakataka running wild for a bit. It basically killing off Espeon while it was setting screens, and Lycanroc as well didn't have a chance until Houndoom came in, flinched the Stakataka, and basically won out against Stakataka and was able to kill it. So yeah, from there on out, Houndoom just basically kept critting. I suppose it crit the Mandibuzz with Fire Blast. It took out Snorlax with Sludge Bomb, critted that, and took the win there. Euphanos wasn't able to come back from that. In the end, though, Venomoth was the one who swept the end game. You would think that it would be Linoon or Cloyster. No, Venomoth would sweep the end game, setting up that Quiver Dance, taking out the Vaporeon, taking out the Kyurem with Savage Spinout, Buginium Z, and finally taking out Florges. That was a very surprising moment, but you know what? Credit to Mossy. He found the end game and went for it. So yeah, that was the end of Euphanos' run. Unfortunately, my pick to win the whole thing is gone, but Mossy, credit to Mossy. Euphanos can never catch a break against Mossy for some reason. That is like a running trend. Once in OpenPL and now in this. So yeah, Saba versus Mossy in the grand final. Ignore this because that basically is a spoiler. But let's talk about the tiers that had happened for this final, shall we? The finals chosen for this TPC finals were NU plus 1 restricted. So either Diggersby, Bronzong, or Haxorus, and only limit 1 restricted. Gen 4 Ubers without Species Clause and with Team Preview. BSS NFE with Item Clause. Okay. Stabmon's Mix and Mega. A TPP staple. Well, at this point, which should be removed, but we'll talk about that another day. And Doubles NU plus Bring 8. Interesting. I wasn't really a big fan of the tiers chosen for the finals. It just felt 2 NUs plus, tiers that nobody in Plaza wouldn't really play, other than me, which I like whack tiers. But yeah, this wasn't the best selection. I feel like there's definitely better options out there, but host preference, of course. I'm not the host. Host Frostpixel is. So, let's take a look at what happened in this final, shall we? Went out in 3 in a best of 5. Very anticlimactic. I was able to catch this series live, but man, it was anticlimactic as frick. Let's talk about that in depth, shall we? Gen 4 Ubers. Now, Saba took advantage of it being without species clause and bringing 2 Dialgas. Maciej didn't, which definitely, like, he should have known to bring like 6 Kyogres or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, Maciej's team okay, Saba's team okay, not really the best choice. And I played Gen 4 Uber, so it wasn't really the best choice, but I didn't build, of course. First turn of this game was a Darkrai, was a speed type Darkrai. They spent a long time deliberating what moves to click, and in the end, Saba's Darkrai won out, putting the other Darkrai to sleep. So that was a shame. That was a shameful first turn for Maciej, unfortunately. And then the game just went out and played exactly like the game went exactly in Saba's favor. It was a very dominant win for Saba. The Darkrai set overall. And I want to show you this because I want to show you a couple of moments right here. So, Darkrai, basically, right here, Tyranitar went for Stealth Rock. What did Darkrai do? Carry Brick Break and dead. Interesting choice there, Saba. Bringing a Life Orb Brick Break. But that's not all. Because what happened with Deoxys? Yeah, Sucker Punch. Dead. Whoa. I even commented saying, whoa. That was a very, it was a very tense moment, but a very unexpected moment. But I love unexpected movesets. They just work. And so Darkrai was able to take out Tyranitar and Deoxys, which could be proven fatal if not handled correctly. There's also another Pokemon in Saba's team that warrants attention. That would be Groudon. Now, Groudon over here, Latias comes in, he sets up Dragon Claw, but watch what happens. Just watch. 1 HP. Groudon left in 1 HP, and was able to take out Latias. Then he sent out Darkrai, hoping it would wake up. Unfortunately, it didn't. So it ended up getting killed there. And the rest of the game, you know, Saba went out and dominated pretty much the rest of the game, taking out Kyogre and Jirachi. Kyogre, of course, the end game was Saba's Kyogre hitting the Thunder very easily. So, yeah. Very straightforward first game. Second game, though. Stabmon's Mix and Mega. There was only one lingering question for me in the beginning, and it happened in the very beginning of this game. Saba going for Rapid Spin on against the Rhyperior. Why? I guess it's to build up speed, but I just didn't know why. I also had Taunt, which is pretty interesting, but Rapid Spin, okay. But I will point out that there is a particular set right now, and it shows up right now that it was basically the dominant. It was basically the one who decided how the series went out, and this was it. Solgaleo, carrying Calm Mind, carrying Flamethrower, carrying Morning Sun, carrying Psystrike. S&M Council, take notes. You already have another dangerous threat. So yeah, Solgaleo ended up sweeping all of Maciej's team. Couldn't catch a break from all the sweeping that Solgaleo did, and took the win. So yeah, S&M Council, be prepared to ban another Mon in the future. Last but not least, they played BSS NFE. Weird choice. I thought Mossy was gonna pick one of the NU tiers, but I guess he didn't want to play NU or doubles, so it chose instead the other singles tier. So this one, interesting choices from either side. Seadra was a good lead, especially against Saba's whole team, which is pretty weak, I'd say, except for a couple of options. But yeah, Seadra was a good lead. Substitute here, I wouldn't really call it the best play, but okay. This was a weird moment. Electabuzz going for Focus Blast. Maybe Piloswine? Maybe I was expecting Piloswine? I don't know. But yeah, Mossy just couldn't catch a break against this Corsola Galar, because this thing ultimately sweeped everything else in Mossy's team. So the game just went out exactly as it planned, and Mossy wasn't able to get over Strength Sap, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Corsola Galar, and Saba ultimately took the win and is your new Tours Plaza Classic champion. So a very long overdue win for Saba, considering he's been a staple in Plaza Tours for a very long time. So it's nice to see him finally attain a win in a Tours Plaza event such as this. So that takes care. Congratulations, of course, to Saba for winning the whole shebang. There are a couple of awards that I want to give out. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to create a PowerPoint slide, so I'm just gonna what was I gonna say? I'm just gonna pull out categories in my head and see what happens here. So favorite tier, I would say, is Gen 1 OU plus Mega. Well, no, actually no. Favorite tier to play in TPC for me is Godly Gift Shared Power. I think that is an incredible meta. I think that should be featured more, I would say. It's a meta that I didn't think I would love, but definitely should be played more. Most underwhelming player award. The player who I really wanted to see play ultimately ended up dropping. Plimsoll Punks won that. Sorry, PP, but I really want you to see you compete once again. And TPP notwithstanding. The Udon Girl Award for Best Gimmicks goes predictably to Euphanos for having the most whack and creative builds. Heavy favorite to win in the whole thing was definitely Kither. Definitely was the heavy favorite to win the whole tournament, so he wins that award. Most surprising moment actually in TPC was Based What beating Stereal. Honestly, like that the image of Based What beating Stereal. I know they played in a really bad. I know they played in a pretty bad same six tier, but yeah, and Stereal wasn't really playing that well. But yeah, the image of Based What beating Stereal, one of the favorites to win, was definitely one of the most shocking moments. So that wins that award. Most surprising player to go forward in reaching as far as he did was definitely 7U9I2, reaching the top 4 against 3 of some of the best Plaza builders of all time. Was definitely a huge feat and accomplishment there. Best newcomer, I would say Martin V. Tran. Like I said, this guy has impressed me all throughout this tour, so congratulations to him. And finally, best overall series. I would say Euphanos versus Kither wins best overall series, because that series, while it may not have gone in Kither's favor, it was definitely some of the most intense, action-packed battling you will ever see in Tours Plaza. So that is the end of Tours Plaza Classic. Thank you guys for watching. It has definitely been a blast in recording and just making videos based on this tour, and finally getting some Plaza exposure in this in this whole Smogon setting. Definitely, it's the third iteration, definitely, but it is one of the biggest tours we've ever had in Tours Plaza, so I thank you for enjoying. And also to thank you to all 128 competitors who competed. You definitely made this tour possible. Thank you, of course, to Frost Pixel for hosting this tour. You did a very good first. You did a pretty good first hosting, I would say. Definitely a pass. As there were a couple of decisions that I wasn't particularly familiar with, but you know, the tour went over well. So thank you to that. And of course, thank you all for watching this video. Oh, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the Tours Plaza Classic 3. Next time will be the next Tours Plaza event will most likely be the Winter Seasonal, which who knows if I'm gonna cover that. Who knows? I'll definitely cover the next Tours Plaza Premiere 4, which I'm very excited about. And of course, BLT and TLT content for tours. Why not? So yeah, thank you all for watching this series. Please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, click that notification bell so you wouldn't want a chance to miss my videos once they come out. And I'll see you in the next Tours event. This has been Mikoy, signing out.